that is most recent to this evolution, and you've played a big role in that.
I did, and again, thanks to the Medical Society, the electronic medical record has been partly a blessing and a curse to the practice of medicine. It takes, and I recognized this early on, that it was sort of a duopoly. You know, this can be, it's sort of like when I grew up, you know, the discovery of nuclear fusion,
right,
and the atomic bomb and nuclear energy, a blessing and a curse. and the same thing is true of the electronic medical record. The amount of time and the cost to buy and learn how to use an electronic medical record, but even worse, how much you have to document in the record, has been the downside. The upside has been the ability to get information very quickly, wherever you are, as they say, anywhere, anytime, on any device.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it's got that dual role that is very difficult. And one of the things we did in the Medical Society, and I have to still thank Ted Blizzard and Kathy Belisle, we created this thing called the Continuity of Care Record.
Yep.
And it was a standardized format, a summary, and we were able to give it to ASTM International, you know, one of the big international standards, and it made a big splash in those days. And still, I still remember this. The CEO of Epic, which is now a giant company, she came to me 20 years ago after I'd given a little speech about the CCR at a meeting in Washington when Tommy Thompson, Secretary of HHS, appointed the first Office of the National Coordinator, David Brailer.
Right.
And I was part of a think tank in New York, the Markle Foundation, that helped develop this, called Connecting for Health.
Yep.
And Judy Faulkner came up to me and said, I like that continuity of care record because when I sell Epic to, again, this is 20 years ago, when I sell Epic to my customers, I give them the source code, and they modify the hell out of it to customize it for their...
Right.
So then they can't even talk to one another. I got one Epic customer that can't talk to another. So she liked the idea of that continuity of care record. And that morphed into what's now called the CCD, the continuity of care document, which was fostered by HL7. But anyway, the electronic medical record is still in its infancy, and it needs to be made much easier for physicians and other clinicians to document into.
The interfaces are tiresome, and the interoperability issue, one machine talking to another, still hasn't arrived. And I think doctors weren't aware of the concept of workflow in their offices until now. And I think that one of the issues with electronic records is it's interrupted the workflow.
Absolutely.
That a doctor has.
It's changed the way we practice, and a lot of it has been the downside of being sort of forced or induced, incentivized to do it according to the quote meaningful use of clinical information technology. And you know, initially that is what got a lot of doctors to buy electronic medical records. That
a government program
exactly
to give you
that extra reimbursement. Exactly.
Yep.
Now I will say I saw very early on that was going to be much more complex. And when I was president, we got a grant from Microsoft to write an e-prescribing program. And we got a $25,000 grant from Microsoft to do that. And you know, they directed us to a company that would do that. And so we had planned to roll that out free to all doctors, just electronic prescribing. Again, because electronic medical records were just beginning to come. Most people had billing systems, but not clinical systems. So we created an electronic medical record thanks to Microsoft's grant. And I was sort of socializing the word in a speech in Washington about the CCR, the Continuity Care Record, and this e-prescribing thing that the Mass Medical Society had just created. And I had two gentlemen come up to me and he said, "Yeah, but can you send? Can you? Do you have connectivity to the PBMs and the pharmacies?" And I said, "No, we just all we do is print them out and give them to the patient to bring to the pharmacy." So these two, this doctor and this other technical guy said, well, we have an electronic connection to the pharmacies, and we're also working on one with the PBMs. And after I looked at it, I saw it. I said, wow, this is so much better than what we created with. And so we never did anything. I think some of the people at Microsoft weren't very happy, but we didn't do anything with it. We gave it back to them. And we started looking more seriously at the connectivity of the doctor's office to the pharmacies and to the PBMs, which would be the PBMs in those days.
Pharmacy benefit managers.
The pharmacy benefit managers were a threat to the retail brick and mortar pharmacies. They were mortal enemies.
Right.
They were mortal enemies. I got invited to speak at both of their annual meetings because of what we were doing in the medical society. They were literally mortal enemies, and then a few years later they joined. But anyway, the concept of having an electronic prescribing system that could connect to both the pharmacies and the PBMs was just blew us out of the water. So we were one of the first medical societies to say, hey, this is the way to go in the future. And we started endorsing a few e-prescribing and electronic medical record companies. And that was another, I thought, a real breakthrough that would make it not only easier for us, but easier for our patients. You could say to the patient, I just sent your script to the pharmacy electronically. It should be ready when you get there.
Right. So points out the effect of the medical society both in influencing some of the evolution of this technology, as well as educating and introducing practicing physicians to it.
Absolutely. We had a meeting in the executive, again, when I was president, we had an attorney, a young woman whose father was a cardiologist from Michigan. I'm blocking her name now, Celia something. Anyway, we had a meeting where we brought together this little electronic prescribing company and the head of SureScripts and their staff. They came up from Washington to meet here because of what we had done. And they proposed to start an electronic prescription trial in Massachusetts. And we had already endorsed this small company, Dr. First, and I'm a little biased because I actually, after I was president, I went to work for them part-time and still do. And here SureScripts comes in and says, we have all the retail pharmacies in the United States. They didn't have all of them yet, but it was CVS, it was Walgreens, it was the big giant pharmacy chains. And we want Massachusetts to be the trial place, and we want the medical society to sign a contract to help us learn, and you learn too. And so our lawyer said, we've already signed one contract with this little e-prescribing company. Why don't we just say, you guys deal with them already. You deal with them, so we don't have to sign any other contracts. And it sounds like a small thing, but it was a big deal saying no to SureScripts, which is now the giant quote near monopoly, to say these guys deal with doctors' offices. You deal with the pharmacies and that sort of thing, and you want to use the Massachusetts Medical Society as a prestige thing to say we did this trial of electronic prescriptions. So it was us and our attorneys and our physician advisors in the medical society said, let's deal with the ones that deal with us directly rather than a big giant conglomeration. And so we went that route, and a few years later, SureScripts joined with RX Hub was the name of the group that was the pharmacy benefit managers. And then a few years later, CVS bought I can't remember, Caremark, and so it gets a lot of
industry consolidation.
Got a lot more complicated now that retail pharmacies and PBMs are owned by one another or whatever. But anyway, once again, the medical society and its staff, these people came up from Washington to sit here and meet with us at Mass Medical, just to get our ideas and look for the medical society to endorse this new e-prescribing and do some research.
So we've heard the story today of a solo practice physician who practiced on the North Shore, who, through his belief in organized medicine and curiosity for technology and learning new things, has been able to have some effect on the medical society and advance the cause of technology with regard to information technology. And basically the society has been an extender for your talent and your curiosity.
Well, it's not only been an extender, it's been a co-creator.
Yeah.
In a sense. You know, I couldn't have done this without the medical society.
Right.
And our medical society, again, has influence throughout the rest of the country.
Right.
So it's an example of how the Massachusetts Medical Society can take individual physicians from different backgrounds, diverse,
right,
talents and experience, and leverage that in the right combination to not only influence what's going on in the state, but even in the rest of the country.
So is there anything we didn't cover today that you'd like to bring up?
Well, I guess once again I'll call out the staff that has been so great. Two of the people that I made really good friends with who have gone on now, Howie and Elaine Kirschenbaum. Mm-hmm. They were terrific. I mean, Howie was obviously married to Elaine, who was the staff, but
cardiologist.
Yeah. And
Elaine Kirschenbaum was head of health policy.
Yes, and she helped me so much with all of this. We actually helped the American Medical Association in some of their advances about IT and and the importance of it and the science and technology. So again, Corrine Broderick too, another one. I mean, so many of the members, so many of the leaders in the medical staff here, Leon, the people who went before him, this has been a great adventure for me that brings back good memories. And again, I'll cite my family, my wife, and my kids who have helped me in this career path, and the legacy of my parents. And that I have to give thanks every day.
Sure. For
anything good that I've done. Okay. I won't put apart. But I'm still active. That's the thing I like. And now I'm on the senior physicians committee here and at the AMA, and I give little talks about what you do after you stop seeing patients.
Sure.
And so I work full-time for an e-prescribing company. I help the National Institutes of Standards and Technology in terms of I want to create a permanent online identity for doctors. They can take away your practice of medicine, your right to practice, but they can't take away your MD. Mm-hmm. Okay? They can't. That's one of the identifiers that makes you remember that you are a physician.
Right.
Or you were in practice. But so I'm still full of ideas that I learned from the current leadership and the current staff and all that. So I thank you for the opportunity to sort of...
a great note to end on. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you, Dale.
Okay.
Thanks, Leon.